Hi people, today we're Friday the 7th, so you people have heard about what's going on in Crimea where Putin is stealing Crimea from Ukraine. And there's this big, very important news, which is that the Russians are now talking more and more about stepping up the pressure on the whole world, and particularly on Europe, and cutting off the gas supply to Europe. Now, that's really important because what's happening in Europe is really important because I made this article here which talks about that, talking about the fact that the title of the article is World War III. You can see it here, World War III. Russia cuts Ukraine gas, the gas supply. So, because the gas supply which comes through from Russia, it goes into Ukraine and then it goes off into all the various countries. And the reason why the gas from Russia goes through Ukraine is because Ukraine is half Russian. That's the most secure place for the Russians to put their gas pipelines, because if it passed through the north, like the Baltic states, those states don't have a lot of Russians, so those states would want to revolt against Russia. So that's why they're sticking to Ukraine, because they have a very strong Russian population in Ukraine. But the problem is that the Ukrainians don't get along very well, so they've had a lot of trouble. Now, if you look at this Wikipedia here, you see this Wikipedia here. It says Russia in the European energy sector. I'm going to give you a little overview of all the countries here. Look at Estonia, Finland, Latvia, Lithuania. These are countries that have 100% of their energy, gas and oil coming from Russia. Slovakia, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Greece, Hungary. All of these people have more than 50%. Like Greece is like 76%. So you'll never hear anybody from Greece talking bad about the Russians. Of course, the Russians and the Greeks have the same religion, Orthodox Christianity. And you have countries like Slovenia, Austria, we're about at 50%. Like Austria, which is a Western country, they have like 50% of gas from Russia. So they're gonna toe a very soft line with the Russians. They're not going to get angry with the Russians. Germany has 36%. That's why Angela Merkel, the German Prime Minister, she is talking with the Russians now. She's saying, "Hey, we want to make this Ukrainian thing go okay." France has 14%. So France is talking rough, saying, "Hey, we're not afraid of the Russians. Let's slap them with sanctions and everything," because they just have 40% of their gas. So if Ukraine, the pipeline is cut off, then we won't get any gas. Nobody will get any gas. Like in France, with just 14%, they can make by. They can maybe the crisis will last for a month or something at worst. And okay, so prices will go up, but then after a month it'll go back again. But Germany, their prices will spike, like their gas prices will just go sky high. That'll be crazy for them. Italy has 27%, but the worst is Austria. Next comes Germany. Next comes Italy. I'm talking about the European countries, then you have Poland and these other guys, but they're already part of the Russian Central Europe. Central Europe. So that's how the situation is right now. So you'll hear the French president will be really tough, and he'll be talking tough against the Russians. But that's because France is further away. It's on the ocean, on the Atlantic Ocean, so they're further away from Russia. And they have Germany, which acts like a front between them. So the further away they are, the more they talk tough. Like the English are talking very tough against the Russians, because the English have lots of oil. All in the north, the English are the biggest producers of oil in the world, with Norway and Saudi Arabia. Those are the big oil countries. So they don't give a darn. They don't give a darn about the Russian. But as people get closer to Russia, it gets worse. But now so I'm explaining that this situation of cutting off the gas to Ukraine is really a big problem, because the Western nations will just nosedive if they get cut off, and the biggest countries like Germany. So this is no laughing matter, and so that's how the situation is getting desperate now for the Westerners. And if Europe nosedives, like the economy goes straight into recession because they cut off the gas, I mean, for America that's no good, because Europeans will say, hey, that's because of Obama. Obama has been inciting all this Arab Springs, and he's making unrest and rebellion and everything, and he's the guy who kicked off this whole Ukrainian piece of crap. So it's Obama's fault. It's his fault in there. It's his fault in Syria. It's his fault in Tunisia. It's his fault in Egypt. All this mayhem and this killing, it's all because of the Obama. He's acting like a punk. Obama's a punk. So people will say this guy is not a decent person. He's not a decent person. He's acting like a thug, and he's acting just like a ghetto hustler. It's like people put a black ghetto hustler into the White House. So people are going to say, we're fed up with this guy. We're fed up with this guy. Plus, they're losing Crimea. It'll cut off the gas for maybe a month or two. It's a world recession because of that. And then Europe is losing Crimea. They were thinking that if they could get Ukraine, they could get Crimea. Crimea is like the jewel, because that's the southern seaside resort where all the rich people go on vacation. And if they lose the jewel of Crimea, then that's because of Obama, because he made that whole mess. So you see, it's all linked together. So I'm trying to explain to you people what's going on in Europe and why Europe really wants everything to be rosy with Russia, and they don't want any kind of problem with Russia. And Obama's going to learn. He's going to learn what that means. Europe does not want any trouble, and if he makes trouble, they're going to go after him. They're not going to go after Putin. They're going to go after Obama. So I'm explaining that the wind has shifted. The wind has shifted and is going against Obama now. Okay, bye-bye.